Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and in Perspective on All India Radio. This is Abhijit Loreng bringing glimpses of major developments of the day from across the globe. The headlines. Pakistan to remain on the grey list of the Financial Action Task Force. India assumes chairmanship of International Labour Organization after 35 years. The US presidential debate draws to a close amidst heated discussions over Trump administration's COVID response. United States imposes sanctions against Iranian ambassador to Iraq, and India's indigenous COVID-19 vaccine candidate Covaxin receives nod for phase 3 clinical trials. The Global Anti-Terror Financing Watchdog Financial Action Task Force FATF has decided to keep Pakistan in the grey list. The FATF has told Pakistan to swiftly complete its full action plan by February next year. It said Pakistan needs to do more to check terror funding. The decision was announced by the president of FATF, Marcus Player, after the 3-day preliminary session in Paris. The decision is significant in the wake of Pakistan's history of lack of compliance with the FATF's action plan. A report.
Pakistan has not yet complied with 6 out of the 27 points of the FATF action plan. These 6 points relate to terror financing. The implementation plan to curb money laundering and terror financing was supposed to be put in place by the end of 2019. However, the deadline was extended in the wake of the COVID pandemic. The FATF is an intergovernmental body set up in 1989 to combat money laundering, terror financing and other related threats to the international financial system. It currently has 39 members. These include 2 regional organizations, the European Commission and the Gulf Cooperation Council. Valsa Williams for World News.
India has assumed the chairmanship of the governing body of International Labour Organization ILO. This marks a new chapter in a century of productive relationship between India and the ILO. The governing body is the apex executive body of the ILO, which decides policies, programs, agenda, budget and elects the Director General. India's Labour Secretary Apurva Chandra has been elected as the chairperson of the governing body for the period between October 2020 and June 2021. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar today released a commemorative postage stamp on the 75th anniversary of the United Nations organization. In his remarks, Dr. Jaishankar welcomed the timely initiative on the eve of the founding of the United Nations. He highlighted that as a founding member of the United Nations, India was deeply invested in UN's success and has been at the forefront of UN peacekeeping operations. India's Minister of External Affairs MEA S. Jaishankar on Friday said that the Indian High Commission in Kenya is working on the return of 33 Indians stuck in Mogadishu and Somalia. In a tweet, Dr. Jaishankar added that the High Commission has taken up their predicament with the Somalian authorities. The External Affairs Ministry is also in touch with the Somali embassy in India. He expressed hope for an early resolution to the matter. In the final edition of the U.S. presidential debate, Donald Trump and Joe Biden exchanged words over the tackling of the COVID-19 pandemic. During the debate, Trump insisted that COVID-19 would soon go away through medical breakthroughs and pointed to his own recovery. He defended his push to reopen the United States as soon as possible. He said that U.S. has a vaccine that's coming, is ready, and would be announced within weeks.
This is a worldwide problem, but I've been congratulated by the heads of many countries on what we've been able to do. If you take a look at what we've done in terms of goggles and masks and gowns and everything else, and in particular ventilators, we're now making ventilators, distributing them all over the world. It will go away, and as I say, we're rounding the turn, we're rounding the corner. It's going away.
In response, Biden alleged that President Trump had no plan to stop a winter of coronavirus deaths. He said anyone who is responsible for so many deaths should not remain as the President of the United States.
220,000 Americans dead. Anyone who's responsible for that many deaths should not remain as President of the United States of America. What I would do is make sure we have everyone encouraged to wear a mask all the time. We move in the direction of rapid tests, set up national standards as to how to open up schools and open up businesses so they can be safe, and give them the wherewithal, the financial resources to be able to do that.
This is All India Radio giving you the world news. The Indian Defence and Foreign Minister and their US counterparts are scheduled to hold a 2+2 ministerial dialogue in New Delhi next week. The meeting assumes significance as it comes close on the heels of the recent Quad meet in Tokyo, Japan. Talking to All India Radio, the noted defence analyst and director at Society for Policy Studies, Uday Bhaskar, said, "We can expect a significant outcome from the deliberations."
The two issues that would come up for some degree of progress would be the agreements between India and the United States, and particularly the geospatial agreement, which is referred to as BICA. My sense is that there would be some movement on this. And the second is the deliberations of the foreign ministers in Tokyo, the Quad foreign ministers, had hinted at certain areas where there would be some, again, agreement at the bilateral level.
Now let's take a look at the COVID updates from around the world. The scientific advisor to the French government on Friday warned that the COVID-19 virus is spreading more quickly than during its initial outbreak in the spring. France and Britain are witnessing a recent spurt in number of COVID-19 positive cases. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration has approved the antiviral drug Veklury or Remdesivir for the treatment of COVID-19. FDA said that Remdesivir is the first treatment for COVID-19 to receive their approval. According to Drug Controller General of India, Russian Sputnik V vaccine against COVID-19 will be tested in India on 100 volunteers. Meanwhile, India's trend of registering decreasing active cases continues. A high number of COVID patients are recovering every day, along with a steadily falling and sustained low mortality rate. India's indigenous COVID-19 vaccine candidate Covaxin has received the nod for Phase 3 clinical trials in the country from the country's regulator, Drug Controller General of India. The vaccine has been developed by Bharat Biotech in collaboration with the Indian Council of Medical Research, ICMR. Another indigenously developed vaccine candidate by Zydus Cadila Limited is also in Phase 2 of human clinical trials. The United States has imposed sanctions on the Iranian ambassador to Iraq on Thursday. The U.S. Treasury Department's Office of Foreign Assets Control, OFAC, designated Iraj Masjebi, Iran's ambassador to Iraq, for acting for or on behalf of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. It can lead to blocking of property of Masjebi, subject to U.S. jurisdiction, and prohibiting U.S. persons from engaging in transactions with him or the blocked property. Foreign financial institutions engaging in transactions with Masjebi also risk U.S. sanctions. Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga is expected to declare a new goal for the country to reduce greenhouse gases emissions to zero by 2050. According to the reports, it is anticipated in his general policy address to the Japanese Parliament on Monday. It will be his first policy speech after taking over from Shinzo Abe. Japan is the fifth largest emitter of carbon dioxide in the world. The commitment will bring the country in line with the European Union and over 60 other nations in efforts to combat climate change. Member of the European Parliament, MEP from France, Maxe Pirbaka, joined the Indian diaspora during a silent protest organized on Thursday near the Pakistan Embassy in Paris. The protest was held to mark Pakistan's invasion of Kashmir in India on October 22nd in 1947 as a black day for global peace. Ms. Pirbaka noted that India, being a truly secular country, has been battling these radical forces for decades, and it was apt for that October 22 is being observed as Black Day. In sports, an investigation into the International Weightlifting Federation, IWF, by the World Anti-Doping Agency has found evidence of impersonation by athletes during the sample collection process on Thursday. India is celebrating the 151st birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. Before we end, let us listen to Vaishnava Jan by artists from Russia. And with that, we end this bulletin. See you at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.